All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a pretty heavy topic, but from a perspective that might just surprise you. We're looking at a theological text that argues the whole battle for purity, well, it's not at all what we've been led to believe.
Okay, so right out of the gate, the source we're digging into today just completely flips the script. This quote says it all. It's not just about images, it's not just about temptation. No, the argument here is that the real fight, the real battlefield, it's happening inside of us, in our hearts.
So to really wrap our heads around this, we've got to start where the source does, which is by completely reframing the conflict. We're moving beyond a simple list of do's and don'ts and trying to understand what's actually going on in this deep internal war.
And this slide really lays out that shift perfectly. You know, the common view is pretty straightforward, right? It's a problem of the eyes, a problem of the body. You see something, you fight temptation. The solution? Just don't look. But the source's view says, hold on a second. It argues the problem is way deeper. It's a problem of worship. It's an internal war for what your heart adores. So it's not about physical avoidance, it's about redirecting the heart itself.
This focus on the internal even leads to some pretty bold new definitions. The source actually coins this phrase, auditory fornication. I know, it sounds intense. But the idea is that this battle isn't just visual. It argues that things like romance novels or even just certain types of media can pull your heart into the fight through what you hear and imagine. It's saying those fantasies can be just as powerful as anything you see.
Okay, so if it's a war of the heart, then what's the real root cause? Well, that brings us to the next big idea here, the problem of worship. The argument is that this whole struggle at its very core is about one thing. What or who is sitting on the throne of your heart? And this quote, this really is the thesis of the whole thing. Think about that. What it's saying is that the sin itself isn't the problem, it's just the symptom. It's the fruit that grows from a heart that already worships something else. So the battle isn't lost in that moment of temptation. No, it was lost way earlier, in the everyday direction of the heart.
The source actually has a name for this. It calls it deviated worship. And the idea behind it is that we humans, we're just wired to worship. Our hearts are constantly looking for something to adore. And if that adoration isn't pointed in one direction, the heart doesn't just go neutral. Oh no, it finds a substitute. It creates something else to put on that throne.
So what's the perfect breeding ground for this deviated worship? The source points to a few things. You've got an idle mind, a soul that's just hungry for some kind of meaning. And this one is huge, a reduced view of God. A view where God is just small or far away, or maybe doesn't seem to care. And it's in that spiritual vacuum, the text says, that lust comes rushing in to fill the void with its own promises.
Okay, so if lust is a form of worship, what exactly is it promising us? This is where the source uses a really powerful analogy to show not just why it's so appealing, but also why it's guaranteed to fail.
The point here is that this isn't about being weak-willed. It's about a failure to find satisfaction. It's almost presented like a law of spiritual physics. If we don't find our satisfaction in something truly beautiful, our hearts are going to seek out pleasure in these empty substitutes. It's not an if, it's a when.
And this is where the drug analogy comes in. It's a perfect comparison, really. Lust promises this incredible high, this amazing pleasure, but what does it actually deliver? Emptiness, and an even stronger craving for the next hit. It's a high that can never, ever truly satisfy that deep hunger inside.
And to really hammer this home, the source pulls out this classic metaphor, a broken cistern. Just picture a clay pot that's riddled with cracks. You can keep pouring water into it over and over, but it's never going to hold it. You'll never quench your thirst. And that right there is the picture of lust. It's a promise that can't hold water.
So given that diagnosis, what's the solution? If the problem is this deep, what do we do? Well, the answer isn't what you might think. It's definitely not about just gritting your teeth and trying harder.
So is the whole point just to shut it all down? To repress every desire that pops into your head? The source tackles that misconception directly. It says no, that's not the goal. It's not supposed to be this grim, joyless act of self-denial.
And here is the absolute game changer. That no you say to a lustful impulse,
That's not repression, that's adoration. See, the no isn't even the main event. It's just the natural side effect of a much bigger, more powerful yes to something better.
Just look at the difference here. Repression, it's a sterile no. It's all about what you can't do. It's draining. It's a battle of willpower that you're probably going to lose. But adoration, that's a joyful yes. It focuses your heart on what is genuinely, deeply satisfying. So the goal isn't to kill your desires. It's to redeem them, to redirect them. It's not about emptying your heart. It's about filling it with something so much better that the other stuff just loses its appeal. So what fuels this massive shift from repression to adoration? Well, the source points to this really key theological concept, justification. In a nutshell, it's the belief that you are already, right now, dressed in the justice of God. It means you're fully accepted, not because of how well you're doing, but as a total gift. Forgetting that status, that's what makes you vulnerable. But remembering it, that changes everything. It gives you the power for purity because you're no longer fighting for acceptance, you're fighting from a place of already being accepted.
All right, so this isn't just high-level theology. The source gets super practical. It takes all these big ideas and boils them down into a framework you can actually use in your day-to-day life. So how do we actually do this? How do we redirect the heart? Well, the text gives us 4 concrete steps. First, you've got to identify your triggers. Know yourself. Know your patterns. Second, you have to question lust's promises. Call its bluff. Actively challenge the lie that it will ever satisfy you. Third, memorize Scripture. This is about replacing the lies in your head with the truth about real beauty. And fourth, and this one is so important, confess and find accountability. You have to bring it into the light, because this is not a war you can win on your own.
And this brings us to the final question the source leaves us with. And it's a big one. It really makes you think. Are you viewing holiness as this heavy, crushing burden that you have to carry to somehow earn approval? Or is it the natural, even joyful fruit that grows from a life that knows it is already completely loved and justified? According to the source, your answer to that question, well, it changes absolutely everything. Thanks for joining this explainer.